Star Trek franchise, but you're not here to see me, so that's no big deal. First off, though, I do have a special guest who wants to say hello and then goodbye because he has to run to the airport. So let's welcome on stage Shomo.
Literally have to run to the plane, but I just wanted to thank everyone. You guys' support is amazing. It's so fantastic seeing a full crowd every time, and just all the passionate and the wonderful things that people have shared when they've come up to the tables and meeting us. We love you guys. I love you so much. What a great weekend. I'll see you next time.
Alright, so without further ado, we'll bring on our panelists who are able to stay for the whole time. First up, we have Jamie Bammer. Welcome to the stage. See you later. Yes. Hello. Next up, we have James Callis. Come on down.
Please don't stand up. Okay.
And the Admiral himself, Edward James Olmos. We're going to play some magical chairs. Musical chairs? Magical chairs. Dragon Con, they're magical chairs.
Magical chair.
All right, next up, Michael Trujo, welcome. I can't guarantee where anyone is sitting right now, so. And last but certainly not least, Trisha Helfer, welcome to the stage. Thanks for being here, everyone. It's been a year, been a couple of years.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah.
So nice, so special. We're excited.
Good. I'm excited too. We're going to be doing mostly Q&A today. I believe we have someone with a microphone who is standing up right in the center. So if people do have questions, if they want to make their way to the center, and this lovely volunteer will have the microphone, so you can line up there. But I can kick things off as we go. I know we do a lot of these panels, we do a lot of Q&As. The world has changed since the last time we've been here, and time has ceased to have meaning, whatever that may be. But what I love is the legacy of Battlestar Galactica, and it obviously still has so many fans, and science fiction itself has got us through good times and bad. Battlestar Galactica is one of those that puts a harsh mirror on reality and humanity sometimes. And I wonder, and we can just kind of go down, anyone who wants to take the question, but have you found yourself reflecting on Battlestar Galactica's message about humanity in the last couple years at all? Has it taken you back to that?
Yeah, I think we have. I think everyone understands that though this was made almost 20 years ago, when it was conceived and put on the air, that we were definitely talking about humanity in a way that it reflects itself like a mirror on what is happening today, especially with the incredible inability for us to understand that there's only one race, and that's the human race. We still have a trouble with that. We still think there's white people and brown people and yellow people and red people, and they're all different races. No, they're not. They're one race, human race, and we all belong to the human race. And they have, inside of the human race, they're beautiful cultures. I said this at the, what do you call it, UNICEF, I mean UN. How many of you saw the UN situation when we went on there? Battlestar went to the UN. You couldn't.
Oh, really?
Google.
I did.
You too. Mary and I and Whoopi Goldberg moderated it, and David Icke and Ron Moore, we all were profound effects of this program. And I said, I think that the one key and issue is that we really have to realize that situation. Everybody is sitting in here, whether you be black, white, brown, yellow, red, Christian, or Catholic, or Jew, I don't care what differences we are different. We all have different thumbprints. But we're all from one race, and that's human race. So that's what I told him, and I'm telling you now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can't really top that.
All right.
No,
His answer's no.
no, I really, the last couple of years, I was doing a podcast, a rewatch of the show, and I was really struck when I watched it. I hadn't seen it since it had aired, of how, I went into it thinking, oh, this is gonna seem dated, look dated, seem dated, and it wasn't. It actually looked like we had just filmed it, aside from, I look a little older, but, story-wise, and even the visual effects stood up, they were amazing at the time, and they still looked amazing. And I was just really struck with how relevant it is, and it is to this day, and I think that's why it continues to find a new audience. I don't know how many people I've talked to this weekend that were new viewers. Of course, many that have watched it a gazillion times, but I see a hand there of people that have watched it for the first time, and I think it's the type of show that is going to keep living on because of that, because of the relevance.
Yeah, it's amazing. Science fiction has a great impact in that respect. All right, do we have any questions? Any takers? Do I see a line? Is there a line? All right, party on. It's all right. We got a few coming. I don't think it's a secret question.
My question is for Mr. Olmos. I think the thing that sets aside Admiral Wadama for me is how emotionally vulnerable he is with his crew, and how much, those like small conversations, and how emotional he is like physically versus a lot of other characters we see in sci-fi. I wonder what it was like playing that and whether that was conscious for you.
Can you just repeat the middle of it?
Bringing humanity to any role, I've done it. I mean, Gaff was a real trip later on. And, Lieutenant Castillo and Miami Vice was a real trip. People forget Escalante and Stand and Deliver. Or Selena's father. What ends up happening is that I pick my roles like I pick my friends. And I'm emotionally connected, just like I am right now to all of you. I mean, I got very emotional at the last question. Now I've got another one, and I'm going to cry because I am truly affected by the energy that is received and gotten by this confrontation, this understanding. Okay, we are able to understand ourselves, and so playing a role like Admiral Adama was a blessing. In my whole life, I've done so much work. I've been very fortunate for the last 50 years. I've done a lot of work on television, motion pictures, and theater. And I will say that this group, these artists, and this story of Battlestar is the best usage of television I've ever been a part of in my life. And I'm not saying that, West Wing did that, or any of the other films, NYPD Blue, or all the different great shows that I've been part of, and great casts were not unbelievably rewarding and fulfilling. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that what happened was so magical and so one of a kind that I could never have thought that it would happen in my lifetime. I told them when we started, before we did our first shot, by the way, our very first shot that we all did together in the history of this program was the So Say We All Sing. That was the first time we all worked together. Before that, in the morning when they started the day, that was the very first day we shot. The first day they had 6 in ball chart together in bed. They were doing love scenes. And they're trying to understand each other.
Yeah, but Eddie, you know why they shot that first? Well, because if they didn't like it, they'd have fired us.
We were
No,
cast
right?
last. We were the last to be cast.
And then we were shot first
We were
on
the
that
first
day.
to
They were
shoot.
like, listen,
And sexy.
if this is right, then it's right. If it's not, it's early airlock.
I think that was known as the So-Say Me-All. Shot the So-Say Me-All.
I just don't understand why they got to go out by themselves to rehearse. Can you tell me about the rehearsal process that you went through, Tricia?
We actually did on that one. Remember? I took you downstairs.
Never forget.
No, we had just met. And, I mean, we met at the studio set.
So nice to meet you. Mike Hatch.
But it was one of those things that I had that very complicated outfit too, and you had to practice how to get it off.
Oh yeah, that old one.
I'm sorry, I'm going to need another tape.
And then Michael Reimer, I was very shy. I think I was quite shy. It was my first, series, brand new actor, and Michael Reimer, I was fairly shy. And Michael Reimer, I think, thought I was going to be timid, and he said to me, he was like trying to not be. Michael Reimer just says it like it is, but he was trying to be, well, I think this needs to be, kind of have to, it has to be kind of like, you kind of have to, and I go, attack him? And he goes, yeah. And we're just looking at each other like, okay. And I literally go, James, let's go downstairs. And we went downstairs, and I just planted one on him. It's like, now we got that out of the way, so we can go upstairs and do it in front of everybody.
I told you the rehearsal process was monumental. And after they had that first half of the morning, we had lunch. And then during the lunch break, I got everyone together in my trailer. And we didn't know each other. You gotta remember, this is like our first day. We hadn't really rehearsed as units. Some of them had been they had gone off to do their war games and boot camp. They went to boot camp, so a lot of them, of the cast, had been in boot camp. Starbuck and Jamie and everybody, and they had all been in together for at least a week or so. But I've never met these people. Come on. I was sitting there in my trailer, right next to Mary's trailer, and they're in their little trailers. And so right away, you're divided. Right away, there's no unity. And we're about to do the scene where everybody's dead. We lost everybody. You remember the scene. And for those of you, how many of you have not seen Battlestar Galactica? Be honest and raise your hands. I know, there's a lot of people here. We're going to ruin your day. Because you're going to go home and want to watch it, and now you're going to know stuff that, man, nobody knew at the time. Okay, when everybody else saw the show, they didn't know where it was going. I'd say more than half of the people in here did not want us to do the show, did not want to see the show, they did not want to see, their own Battlestar Galactica inundated with a girl who was Starbuck, and it was really difficult transition that most people, fans, and there were 25 million plus of them, of you, that loved that program. And they did, man, we got hate mail.
No, Eddie, I remember the first conventions when you were, I think this is down in San Diego, and we were getting a lot of, whatever stuff coming back from the original people about why is this changing? And Eddie was sitting like I am, and I was like, don't watch it. I'm telling you, don't watch it. And I think that was a fantastic thing to say to all of those guys, because a lot of people didn't listen to you, or they were like, no, now I really have to see it. If I'm being told not to watch it.
That being said, so we had a lot of difficulties, so I got everybody in the trailer, and I said to them, really truly, and this is the truth, I said, This show is going to go for 5 years at least, okay? We are not going to get any recognition whatsoever by the Emmys and the Golden Globes and all of these critically acclaimed people. We're not going to get nothing. But we are going to be one of the most prolific shows ever to be on television.
Damn
just
right.
from the opening script. Just
Damn
from the very
right.
first script that Ron Moore wrote, the miniseries of 4 hours. I said, this is monumental. I wouldn't have done it. Are you kidding? I was offered Star Trek. I turned it down. Okay? Why? No, I'm not that. I was stupid.
We don't have to get to that.
That's kind of stupid, you know?
I love
I
that.
would have been on television for 12 years. You know? After Kirk died, they wanted somebody else, and they go, hey, we're getting on with that again. And then, I'm sorry, I did Blade Runner. I've done sci-fi. No. And that's where my head was. I'm not kidding you. I was doing other stuff. I was doing, you know, Sylvina and all this stuff. And I had work to do. I didn't have, you know, okay, I love your commerciality. I love your idea. You know, Battlestar Galactica, the whole thing is great. All right. But no, man. And then I read the script. And I said, what an idiot you are. This is unbelievable writing, an unbelievable understanding of character. And the story itself was just unbelievable.
These pictures should match.
Understanding of what humanity had to do. That there was just a few of us left out of billions of people on the planet. We were done. We had been exterminated by our own technology. Hello?
Yeah.
2021, we're really close, guys.
Yeah.
And it's just around the corner. So with that in mind, I got them into the room and I told them that. And then I said, you know, we're not going to get any recognition. I said, but listen, pace yourself. Because over the next 5 years, we're going to start off at a very high level. But guess what? We got to get to the end. And the end is your fastest mile. You're running a marathon, the last mile you run is your best mile. It's not, the first mile is not your best mile. The last one is, or else you're not going to be able to say, I did my best. So, that being said, I told them this. And they're looking at me going, what the hell? You know, they were really confused. And Mary's sitting there going, interesting. You know, Mary had 2 Academy Awards. She was one of the greatest artists I've worked with. And she said, and this is the first time I'm meeting her. Okay, I didn't know her. And she took the job because I took the job. I said, you ask her. She'll tell you. She goes, I wouldn't have done this. I mean, I found out that Ed was going to do it. So, well, let me read it. Something's going on here. Why would Ed be doing it? Battlestar Galactica. And so that being said, we did that. And then I went through the process of saying, this to me is going to be the most unbelievable experience that any of us have ever had. Now, I mean, Trisha had really, this was her first major piece of work. You know, everybody was really relative. They were young. I think Jamie was 31, 30? 29. Okay, Starbuck, you know, Katie was 22. 22. She looked like she was 12. How long had you been?
I actually got cast on the first day. They just decided to roll me out in season 2, so I had a long time to wait. I came on. I came on and see. It's so weird to be up here because I feel so part of this family. I wasn't part of that incredible experience, but I did read because I read for Lee and Donna, and I didn't get the role.
I've been meaning to talk to you about that.
And then
Mistakes are made, okay?
mistakes are made. Because I too found out that Edward James almost was doing the show. I was like, sign me up. If it's good enough for Eddie, it's good enough for me. I'll do it. And they were like, no, we don't want you. So
I read this script and had that exact same impact. I remember reading this, and I've told people the story before. I was writing in a journal at the time, and I have a journal entry after I just read that miniseries to audition for this role, and wrote that I think I just read the best television script I've ever read. In my journal, I said, by Michael Trudeau. So I definitely feel like I have been part of this family from the beginning, and they have welcomed me into this incredible world, this universe, and this family, because it could have easily just been marginalized to the side. And I just want to thank all you guys very much.
Well, I think what's so important and what comes across so well on the screen is that aspect of family, you know, friends and people, especially people who are the Marines. My partner's the Marines, like, they watch it and they're like, that's what it is. That's what it's like. You can tell that there's a family. So I'm going to keep the questions coming. So we're going to do one more question. Yep. We'll do more than one, but one right now. Yeah.
Well, you noted that they ask the hard questions in Battlestar Galactica, and maybe sci-fi and fantasy have a little more ability to do that. I was wondering, for all the cast members, is there a show that is on now, or maybe has been since Battlestar Galactica, that you think has similar tone and success in actually kind of answering those and making you think about it?
I'll go first, because for me it's Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, see, it's talking about. Yeah, for me that's something as thought-provoking as what we did. For me, contemporary right now is Handmaid's Tale. 100%.
Stranger Things. I like it. I like the kids.
I think that, although it's not on now, and this was made several years ago, Battlestar is for me, slightly reminiscent of Casualties of War. Remember the film with Michael J. Fox? And they're out in Vietnam. That was kind of eviscerating. There was a central message to that, because these guys they kind of go AWOL, they go postal. They start killing people they don't need to kill. And there's a great conversation where one of them's like, look, you think it's the end of the world, so you can do what you want. But because it isn't the end of the world, I'm actually asking you to think twice. And that seems very, what's the word, like very much part of our show. And it goes back to what Eddie was saying in the So Say We All speech, like, we're here, but do we deserve it? We've got to deserve it, right? So those things, sorry, pretty heavy, but that's what it, essentially in drastic times, this is the thing. In kind of apocalyptic times we kind of find ourselves in. There's this idea, well listen, it's the end of the world, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And there are these things that we think that we can, I don't need to have as much feeling about somebody else, because it's the end of the world, right? And I'm just gonna carry on doing what I'm doing. Right, well, because it is the end, or whatever, that's why you need to pause, think about other people. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
You're making sense, but the question was, in contemporary right now, is there anything else?
Contemporary right now. I would say no, it wasn't. It was like any other thing. Right, never mind. Moving swiftly.
We have another question?
Hi, my question is for Mr. Bamber, starting about Lee's evolution as a character, because you know it starts from him going like, I hate my dad, through his like sort of semi-suicidal spacewalk that he does, and then towards his spoiler, he's becoming president at the end. So like, how did you run a thread through that so that you made him like a whole person?
Well, the honest answer is, in hindsight, maybe he's a whole person, but you're just constantly trying to find parts. And the problem with Lee was, and I felt this acutely from him, I was dealt a wrong hand in some regards, in that I was playing the female character to Starbuck's masculine character. And that really is the crux of the innovation that Ron gave me. So I'm the romantic. I'm the dreamer, the lover, who's and you know, and she's the creature of appetite and instinct, and you know, she smashes and grabs, and I wonder what happened. So that gender flip, and this has only come to me in the last couple of years actually. But as a result, I was extremely frustrated with the character, and Michael Reimer and I would sit down every year and go, how do we make this guy interesting as a guy? Because he's kind of whiny and kind of Boy Scouty, and you know, the very first scene with his dad, he's, you know, in the way that youth is, he's sort of principled and idealistic, and just isn't a pragmatist in a show that's very pragmatic. So, and David Icke would say that he's the conscience of the show. There's nothing fun about being the conscience of the show. So we had to solve that problem, and the way we solved it, I don't think we did solve it. So what we did all the time is just give him a new challenge and throw him into a different arena. And I embraced that every single time. It made it extremely exciting. And I think by the end, we did get to the crux. And if the show is relevant on that level, it is a crisis in masculinity. And I think that's what we're living through today, is that to be male, I'm white, I'm middle-aged, and I'm male. And we are having to examine everything about what those three things are. And Lee did that implicitly. Nobody's aware that that's what his drama was, but that's what his drama was how do you be male in a world where gender actually means almost nothing. It's not, we're seeking to make it irrelevant, and yet you know, you still are the son of an ultra-masculine man who is also going through a meltdown, and all your role models are twisted and wrong. So he's constantly just finding a new arena to be in, and so that's how we tried to solve it. I'm not sure we solved it, but it's unsolvable.
To you, that's brilliant. I think, yeah. Having that self-reflection now, has your opinion of the character changed, or do you wish you could go back and change something?
I didn't realise how lucky I was, and I'm not sure. I think if Rod were here, I don't think he'd be aware that that's what he was writing, to be honest. Because it's quite an easy flip to go, hey, let's make Starbuck a girl. But the ramifications of that are quite fundamental in terms of you've got a hero, and Apollo's the hero of the show. And heroes these days, we like them twisted, and we like them slightly perverse, because we know that heroism is a construct that actually has no basis in reality. So you watch Deadpool, and that's our idea of a hero now, is that sort of irreverent, knows how screwed up the world is. But Apollo wasn't that. Apollo was old school Gregory Peck hero in a world that doesn't work that way anymore.
Wearing a military.
And that's the tragedy. And tragedy, Greek tragedy, is about moral codes that don't align, and how an individual finds herself between two codes that can never be reconciled. So the only outcome for that is tragedy.
It's really interesting.
And I think, I'd love to talk to Rod about it, but I didn't realise that was what it was. I was trying to solve it. I was trying to overcompensate in many arenas. In hindsight, I would send rewrites to the writers and go, he needs to fight, he needs the, but actually that was the point.
That's great.
He has no role.
Fit.
Hi. I was actually going to ask a question about love scenes, but I feel like James and Trisha have covered that already. So my question was, Edward James Olmos directed some of the episodes of the show, so now here's the chance for everyone on the panel to talk about what it was like working with him as a director.
Oh,
Well,
this should be fun.
Answer part of your first question too with that. No, I mean, working with Eddie was just such a treat, because not only you can see clearly the passion that he has for work, not only as an actor but also as a director, and the entire process. And so he has a very clear vision, but as an actor, he also knows how to talk to actors to get us to understand what he's meaning or wanting or of the scene. And also, you knew the show so well that it was like you just absolutely trust him. You don't really question. But if you did question, you fully, talked about it. Remember the day I'm talking about? The blood vial, the testing day. You were directing that episode, and it was also one of the only days my ex-husband ever came to set. And ex-husband, but he was on set that one. It was Monday morning, and he was going to fly home because he had an afternoon flight. So I'm like, come to set today. James and I have a scene in the lab, and there's nothing really is going on in the scene. Nothing in particular is going on in the scene. And I get to set, and he goes, so I have this idea. Baltar's going to be taking you from behind, and I'm going to pan down. You're not going to see anything, and it's like I'm bent over the table with my skirt up over my back, and you see legs, and then you see James, and I think Starbuck walks in the scene, and so there's my husband, and I'm like, nothing happens in the scene. There's no sex scene. There's no nothing, and my husband's like, oh, and he's just listening to us, and he's watching my legs. And seeing James pull my underwear down. It's like, yeah, that's what it's like working with Eddie.
I think it worked.
It was brilliant. It's brilliant working with Eddie. Eddie's an artist in every single way, even as well like that, the beginning of that scene that Trisha is talking about. Eddie was lining up the test tubes. Lining them up on the thing, designing the shots. It's like the camera's going to come down here over the test tubes and find you at the end of the table. And you're going to be walking. Everything was designed. Everything was also as well. The lighting was slightly different. The way that Eddie lit it. He thought of everything. But as well as apart from being artistic, as being an actor, was able to just have a shorthand with each other. What's this going to look like? No. And deeply passionate within that. So. It was one of the best experiences I had on the show because as well, like there's a lot of trust you need when you're the person doing the thing and somebody else is directing you. And we just trusted Eddie with our lives, really. And I think that pays off because it's awesome.
The other interesting thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but the first episode Eddie directed was the only episode that you could probably call a broad comedy, because they were so terrified of Edward James Olmos' dark side that they gave him froth. And you should have seen the smile on his face. He says, I'm going to deliver this. We're going to make this the funniest episode. And you cast the amazing Kate Vernon. And on her first day, she had her shoe off and her foot in my crotch. And there was just this glee about that episode, and it's the only episode I can remember that we had that sense of just fun. And it was midway through season 1, so it was the right point to sort of counterpoint whatever everything else had been going on. And I think they were shocked at how you took. I think they set you up to fail, to be honest, slightly.
I think they were scared. They were scared, but I would not let anyone do a comedy about the world that we had created. This was crazy. When they said we got to lighten it up, I said, lighten up? Are you kidding me? What part of this is you got to lighten up? And so I said, okay, you want to lighten it up? I'll direct it. And whoa, the whole thing changed. And they wrote it, and it was well done, but all the stuff that he's talking about were not in the writing. It was, Kate Vernon was our biggest find. I went for Kate, and myself and Harvey went for Kate. Everybody, David wanted his wife, and different, and then different people wanted different, and Bonnie wanted somebody else, and there was a whole thing, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm directing this, and I want Kate Vernon. I had seen her in Malcolm X, in one scene, and I said, this woman is amazing. And so she, out of nowhere, I cast 2 people, and what's her name? Dean Stockwell. two people that I cast, you know, and literally I called them and said, come on, let's do this. And so when she got there, first scene was inside the room when we discovered that, you know, that everybody's lying, and that I lied, and everybody's lying, and Baltar's spinning in the chair with 6 on his lap.
I remember, Eddie, I said to you, there was this, because it was really the way that you directed that and whatever, it was like a sitcom. You were all across the lab table. No, I didn't do that. No. Looking at each other, and then you're like, James is just gonna spin around in the chair. And I was like, what does this mean? I mean, it's so serious, and there could be sign-ons amongst us, and what am I, and Eddie was like, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's all mad at this stage. We've kind of descended into a kind of madness, and that's where we took it.
And one of the first scenes that we shot was a scene inside my room, my apartment, and it was the dining scene where we're all eating at the table. It's the scene that Jamie was talking about, which is where I told Kirby, without telling, I didn't tell the actors what was going to happen. That spoils the whole damn thing. So when you're seeing people react to situations that are funny, we didn't rehearse them. You can't rehearse comedy like that. It's got to be really understanding of itself, and each actor has to be ready, so that you set them up, and then they just come out like if they're doing, and they know what they're going to do, and the other actor doesn't know what they're going to do to him, but they know they got to do something that I told them to do this. Oh, okay, all right. So Jamie sits down, and I told Kate, I put the cameras underneath I had cameras up. I had 3 cameras up. One across from each other because I want to catch the instinctive first impulse that happens. I don't want to catch, you know, I go one side and then I catch what they do, and then turn around and catch the other side to see what they do. That's not comedy, okay? That you have to catch exactly what happens to both of them in the situation. So I put the cameras across from each other, and they're looking at that. But then I told my guys, put one underneath the table. There's one, I just put one underneath the table. I go, they go, okay, I have to light it. I said, no, keep it real. You know, just whatever you can see, you're gonna see. And then I told Kate, I said, Kate, during the shot, take off your shoe. Sexy, really sexy like. And then reach across with your toe. And put your feet slowly on, you know, Apollo's crotch. Touch his penis with your toenail. And you saw the reaction. Those of you that haven't seen the show, too bad. Just got your mind. I mean, for those of us who saw it for the first time, we went nuts. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. Because he's doing a scene and he's sitting there and he's very, you know, direct. You know, he's just being very Apollo-ish. You know, and all of a sudden he goes, on camera. He had no idea. It was so fresh. It was so good.
It's ruined it for me. I thought it was all Kate's idea.
And I think now we have a good answer to that question. So, Karen,
hello, thank you for being here. I apologize, my heart is beating out of my chest. As you mentioned, the show's been going for, or was going for quite some time. It's been almost 20 years, and there's been so many years to think about what it means, and to me it means the ability, you know, asking what we do at the brink of the end, and then how to come back from that. And so I think that is always very relevant now more than ever. In those 20 years, I've had a lot of time to think about questions that I would ask you right now, and what I actually want to know is, what is the one question that you wish someone would ask but no one has, and what is the answer to that question?
no pressure.
What are you drinking? IPA.
aka Blackbird.
Yeah.
It's true. Good answer. I am definitely looking forward to aka Blackbird. I've been asked to take a look at it. It's something that
aka Blackbird.
seeing, even though it's not meant to be seen.
On that,
You figure that out.
We're gonna cut it off right there. And yeah, no, thank you though. I really appreciate it.
Blackbird.
Thank you for being here.
Hello, thank you all so much for coming. Unfortunately, Mary couldn't be here this weekend, and we wish her a speedy recovery. But in light of her absence, I was wondering what are your most memorable Laura Roslin scenes or any special moments with Mary on the set during the whole series?
Every scene she was in. I mean, I can say I had probably the least amount of time with Mary, and I remember standing on set with Mary, and as Eddie was describing, you shoot a scene and they'll shoot one direction, then they'll shoot the other direction. And when usually actors, they'll say, you know, the camera, Michael, we're here, we're super tight, this is your close-up, and this is where you bring it. And the other actor is off camera, and they're delivering the lines, and they're providing, you know, they're keeping the scene afloat. And good actors always support each other. Mary, even in my coverage, when she's standing with her shoulder against the camera and crouching down and sitting on an apple box, would give such a staggering performance that it would completely fuck up my coverage because I was just mesmerized and would lose my line. I was like, is anybody filming that right now? Why are we here? Because she's so sincere, so real, so honest. And as an actor, that is the golden goose, to tell the truth, to speak lines as if they've never been spoken before, and to be honest on film is such a gift, and it's a craft you can study your entire life to try to achieve. Mary just delivers her dialogue. She exists she walks in the shoes of that character so convincingly that it was distracting to me. It shows me how far I still have to go as an actor, because I was like, I can't keep up with her. She's amazing.
I have a personal story. Of working with Mary, not working with her, but something she did helped me out as a woman to woman. Working with her is just phenomenal. But when we started the first season, we had done the mini-series, and then it was a year later, and we picked up to the series, and we had a different director of photography, DP, and he lit me different. And we also went from film to HD, and HD is a lot harsher on people. you see more. And I started getting a lot of whispers around me from the powers that be, and I was told that I didn't look good anymore, and that I was looking tired and old and things, and I was asked if I had changed weight, and I was like, no, my costume still fit this. I mean, I had the red dress. We only had one dress. I was like, it fits the same. They were like, can we get you a nutritionist and a trainer? And I'm like, well, sure, if you want to pay for it. I mean, I work out well, I eat well, but sure. And a month had gone by, and none of that had happened. And finally, Harvey, love Harvey, he had said, one of the producers, and I said, Harvey, what's going on? And he goes, well, we asked every trainer in town how to keep you fill you up from here, make you fuller from the breasts up and keep you the same from the waist down. And everybody said that's not possible. But Mary kind of overheard one of these conversations, and she just came up to me, and I was gonna make me cry. She just talked to me as a woman, and said to, just how to deal with it, and that was just a lovely thing. I'm not gonna say
It's really beautiful. There's a solidarity in that environment that I think touches all of us. So thank you for sharing that. All right, another question?
Well, it's quite obvious that Battlestar is a family. Richard Hatch is no longer with us. I'd like to hear your stories on set and at Dragon Con with Richard.
I've got a great one about Richard. He was such a beautiful man. He was such a prince of a human being. But basically, when you come on the show, it's like I'm the only person that's allowed to see Trisha. You know what I mean? Because like for a lot of the time, number 6 is in my head. Only Richard didn't get the memo. We had to film lots of scenes, and they were like, "No, Richard, you can't see her. You're not allowed." And he was like, "Well, that's not humanly possible." Has anybody not looked at Trisha and listen? Oh, come on.
He was losing his lines because I was leaning over his shoulder and he's supposed to pretend that I'm not there. And he's just, I can't do this.
I was terrified of Richard as a concept. I was convinced I was going to get fired in the first week, like probably all of us. And then season 1, I just thought, where's Dirk Benedict? Why me? Why do I have to have the meta television moment where the better looking, more successful, original Apollo comes along? And I was so intimidated, and I just thought, okay, I knew he was going to be at this read-through for the episode 3, Bastille Day. I even remember the title. And I was so nervous, because in terms of my head, what I'd read is that our show represented the end of 15, 20 years worth of work for him, a dream, a life project. And I just thought, I can't be sort of responsible for that. And, he'd said some things that were quite negative about what we were doing. And then I walked into this read-through and I said, I'm just going to go straight up to him. I'm just going to go say hi. I'm going to go say hi. I'm going to introduce myself, and I'm going to say, you're Apollo, you ought to be Apollo, not me. And so that's what I did. But before I could get the first word out, like the first word, he grabbed, that warm embrace, both hands, hugged me and said, you are Apollo. You are doing what I only dreamt of doing. And he just disarmed me on day 1. And that was Richard, it did represent the end of something, but he said to me towards the end of his days, he said, I'm Tom Zarek. I played Tom Zarek more often than I played Apollo. This show is more important to me than the first incarnation. And that's an extraordinary thing to say, a magnanimous thing to say, generous thing to say, and that's who he is. He's just one of those people that is a beacon, and you've all met him, I'm sure. He was here every year, and he was a true, he was a dreamer. Like, he loved science fiction. That was part of his DNA, and he loved you so much. And he blessed us. He blessed us. Is what he did. And very grateful for that.
We'll do another one. One of my favorite episodes of the series is the episode of Maelstrom, and specifically the scene where, after we've watched Admiral Adama meticulously build this ship in a bottle, in a moment of extreme grief, he smashes it over his desk. And it always made me cry, no matter how many times I watched it. And I later learned that the ship was not a prop, but a very expensive loan to the studios. I was just curious, since you improv the scene, Mr. Olmos, what was the vibe on set like after you wrote that?
Oh boy.
Not happy. But I mean, who the frack puts a one-of-a-kind ship in a situation like that, where they're telling the artist, the actor, the person, the character, your daughter is dead, and what did they expect?
And they would tell you that it was,
No,
yeah, you had no idea.
no one ever explained to me, hey, this is what we're doing, this is the thing, hey, be careful, don't bring it, because it's really expensive. What? What the frack are you putting in here then? Do you know the scene? I would have told them that. I would have told them that. I said, get me away from this thing. You know, that thing will be gone. And you know, they didn't say nothing to me, I didn't say nothing to them. They started the scene goes through, you saw what happened. And for those of you who haven't seen Battlestar, another time you would. Because when you see the scene, you're gonna go, that's what he was talking about. You're not gonna enjoy the scene. Okay, you're not gonna be watching the scene, you're gonna be watching the moment. And that's what's gonna happen. That's what happens with spoilers. You say, oh, that's the spoiler they were talking about. Oh, that's the, he's got, you know, come on. What are you doing in here?
Sorry we didn't preface this panel with a spoiler alert.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
You're gonna
that
have
was a very
to
tough moment.
market a spoiler.
Especially the producers in the studio. No, I mean, the guy, he's long gone. Old.
Oh, what would have been so funny is like they would have done the scene, and then I imagine once the boat was smashed, you know, because everybody's watching this on monitors slightly askance, there's just deathly silence. And then Eddie's on set, and they're kind of like, hey, was that great? We're gonna do that again? And somebody's here, that was a priceless piece of art. And it's how do we tell Mr. Olmos? Yeah, I wonder if anybody did tell you right then. No, Eddie was just great. It was.
He didn't say anything. And then later, somebody said, hey, man, that was really inexpensive. What are you talking about? And no, it's antique. And I said, oh my God, who put it there? Whoever put it there is in a lot of trouble.
All right, we've got time for a couple more.
Mr. Tallis and Mr. Olmos, can you talk about the Battlestar episode of Portlandia and how that came to be? And the other panelists, have you seen it and what do you think about it?
It was so much fun. They're huge fans of the show. In fact,
Me?
yeah, go say.
I just played Fred's wife in a movie. I just worked with Fred. He was at my going away, leaving LA party, which so I just had the pleasure of working with Fred in a movie in Italy, and he's just so funny and so charming and so lovely, and I just adore him.
Yeah.
It's called Spin Me Around.
So we arrived in Portland. It was very kind of low-key, the way that they shoot that thing. They wrote it because they were huge fans of the show. Were we there 2 days or 3 days? 2 days. It felt a bit chaotic while we were doing it, and a bit like improvised. And if you've not seen it, they find somebody in Oregon called Ron Moore. Only it's not Ron Moore. It's another Ron Moore. And then Ron Moore turns up, but he's like not the real Ron Moore. The whole thing's a bit crazy. But it was. You know what it was? We were really G'd up to do something, and then I think it's like one of those things. It was over before it begun, almost. It's like we didn't quite have a handle on what we'd been shooting, and then we watched it afterwards, and it's now there's that thing. In fact, they're the guys who started off on that thing about like the binge watching, because that's how it starts, isn't it? They've got to get their own show because power's gone, because there's nothing in the fridge. They thought, oh, just one more episode. I'll just bang it.
It was wonderfully orchestrated by them. I mean, Fred knew what he was doing. He's very funny, both of them. And all I can say is that when we got there, because it was Ron Moore, myself, and James, and when we got there, we had no idea what we were doing. You know, they just said we'd like to do some stuff about Battlestar Galactica. Would you come and help us? And I was okay, let's do this. And so we went there, and then they brought it out in script form, and but it wasn't script form. It was like oratorial codes, but there really wasn't a dialogue.
Eddie, I'm sure that was your improvised line, because they kept on saying something, and I think Eddie at some point went, I was never in space. Never in space. And that was you, because they just kept on going like that, and then they kept it. It was like, I don't think that they wanted us to.
No, that was not in the script. There was no script. What you're seeing is true. How about when we're talking about Ron Moore, the person who's playing Ron Moore, and I turned to you and I said, it's not Ron Moore. and I said, Ron Moore doesn't wear glasses. James goes, you're right.
That's delightful. For those of you who haven't seen that sketch, I highly recommend it.
Oh my goodness. And the final one is fantastic.
Excellent. All right, we've got time for one more question.
Make it good. All right. So, when original Battlestar Galactica came out in the 80s.
78.
And the reboot came out in the 2000s. So it's 2021. An uber-rich producer wants a new reboot. Who do you cast for your roles, given an infinite budget?
Great.
Ooh. There you go. There you go.
It's no coincidence that we're all sitting in the exact same order as we appear in that Last Supper photograph. Foreshadowing? I'm just saying.
You know, we wish them well, just like they wished us well, and understanding that the world that we created is a world that will stand on its own, just like the original. And the next rendition of it will be what it is. And the only thing is that they definitely have to really be incredibly ingenious on their understanding of story. Because the story that we created, that Ron created, all the writers, it was really a written show. This thing was, they really knew. They had that story down. It was Ron who was the head of it, but there was some great writers on the show. And that being said, and David Icke was a really, really brilliant producer when it came to editing Ron's work. And then we discussed it just recently about that and how much he gave to the show. Ron was incredible, but David was always saying, wait a minute. What does it mean about for today, right now? No, but we're talking about this world is not. No, we're talking about now. And he kept it there. He kept it strongly inside humanity, which we were faced with in 2003 through 2008. And so he kept it there, and he was very strong. But I think the new rendition, whatever it will be, if they get to do it, because it's gone through a lot of people's hands, and they have big hands, really good people, and they've taken it to a certain level, and then you don't hear about it anymore. And then another group picks it up. And so it's going to be kind of hard for them. But at the same time, if they succeed, it'll be great for us, all of us, because we will enjoy the world that they created. It'll be fantastic. They should have never stopped our program. Season 37
I know my podcast co-host actually met with them because they asked him to come in. Mark did, and he was like, "It's kind of weird because I'm doing the I wrote about your show for Entertainment Weekly. Now I'm doing the podcast with you, and now I'm like going into pitch basically Sam. It was really weird, but he gave me and Ron said as well." When Ron was on the podcast, that Ron and Sam had, Sam got Ron's blessing, and they talked about the show. I won't give you any nuggets, but there's one thing that Ron said that they couldn't touch, and I'm not going to tell you what it is.
All right, well,
great way to say it.
Yeah, we are pretty much out of time, so I want to thank the entire panel. And I want to
I will say to you all, stand please. Everyone stand. stand up. And I want everyone to understand this, okay? This we're going to do for Mr. Michael Hogan. We're going to wish him speedy recovery, and we will see you next year, okay? And then we're all going to say, so say we all, okay? Here we go. Michael, we're all here another day, and we're here waiting, and we're going to have you here next year, and we love you with all our hearts. And don't forget, you are our XO. So say we all. 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 We love you, Mikey.
Scorpion Core Universe at Battlestar Viper. See you later. Bye. So say we all.